Okay, everybody. So thank you for coming back. And we are now going on to the fourth and final session of the day. The fourth session will be dealing with community rehabilitation and integration. And the chair and last speaker is a longtime friend of the department and the staff, designer Ronen Kadushin. Ronen has been a driving force in the field of open design, authoring the Open Design Manifesto. In the past, Ronen was noted as one of the most 10 influential designers in Israel. And today, Ronen is the Chief Design Officer in Toolfab, New Age Furniture Incorporated, and is an old friend of the department of everybody here. So we're really happy to have Ronen with us today. And Ronen will be addressing the conference on the subject of urban integration through service design. Ronen, the floor is yours.
Okay, you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Internet is working. Allow me 2 minutes in Hebrew. Hey, shalom חבר'ה, אני לא ראיתי אתכם הרבה זמן.
Hello everybody. I haven't seen you in a really long time. I miss you. Thank you, Gideon, for inviting me, and I haven't seen you in a long time. Avi, I see here. Dganit, Yoram, Atar, Yonatan, Gila, lots of people. I miss you guys so much. So thank you for inviting me to speak. Okay. Let's begin.
אוקיי, נהדר. קודם קצת רקע עליי ועל מה שאני הולך...
A bit of information and background. Oh, sorry, I'm switching to English. קצת רקע.
Very short introduction of me. I'm an industrial designer, a furniture designer. By what I'm doing, I consider myself also a design educator. I taught 13 years in Michlelet Hadassah, good years, until I made a very strange decision to move to Berlin. And since then, since 2005, I'm here. Most of the time promoting and doing open design, which is basically the equivalent of open source software, but on design. And somewhere a year and a half ago, I became a partner, co-founder, and the chief design officer of Toolfab, and I'll explain everything in this presentation. So this is who I am, and this is what I do. And the name of this talk is Design for Phygital Glocal Hegeonomy, which are strange words, maybe not in English, I don't know, but you will learn to, I will talk about it later. So let's start. First of all, what is Toolfab? First, it's a startup in California, and we are trying to propose a way of distributed manufacturing as a service, meaning that we, from a central website, we'll call it, or a database, you can take a factory and spread it anywhere, pieces of it all over the world, and produce the same things with the same quality for different customers, where the production will be as close as possible to the customer. And we have a digital platform that incorporates designs and designers and producers. Producers, we don't own the production. Producers for us are basically owner-operators. It is based on CNC tools and processes. That means that we will see here CNC cutting of wood, but we can talk about 3D printing or laser cutting and so on. Everything is possible if it is CNC tooling. And we plan to automate and optimize the production and commerce of everything to make a very, I would say, seamless operation from the customer, from the shop to distribution to shipping and accepting the finished product without any hitches. And basically to give a fight to what my partners in the States are calling the Amazonification of commerce. That means that everything comes from a very central distribution value chain and so on. So, and very exploitative. So, and it is a work in progress. So what you see here is a lot of things that are going to happen or happened, but yes, but it's work in progress. Why doing this is a whole different, except the money part. Okay, we intend to make money out of it. But the world is changing, and I think it is about time to change one of the most uninnovative industries. The furniture industry is about somewhere stuck in 1955. The most, if you check what was the innovations in the last 20 years, it was the transformation of mattresses between metal springs to PU foam. That was the biggest innovation. It's usually very centralized. It's usually very conservative when they're talking about how things are made and how things are supplied and value chains and so on. Everything is as it was. And we're entering a world, I think, we already recognize it, that needs a different way of making things, a different way of purchasing things, a different way of creating a manufacturing, supply and retail value chains that are not what there was. So we're talking about making what we call an edge economy, edgeonomy. That means that the transaction happens at the edge, close to the consumer, with a local manufacturer, and this is our plan. So the design is global, but manufacturing is closest to the customer, and it happens in a very digitally intense environment. This is basically let's say the map of how things are happening or plan to be. They're somewhere in the middle right now, but on the left side, you can see a design that is made especially for CNC production. It has zero complexity. It is assembled and disassembled very easily. It is made usually from plywood or something that is a board, basically. It is designed to be configurated. That means when you design X, it can be n number of X's. You can have many variations of the same thing. And this goes to our enterprise database, our model database, that projects it or represents it in our shop, where it interacts with the customer. The customer is seeing basically a localized website. That means if you're in Israel, you will see it in Hebrew and it will have shekels and everything, and vice versa in the States or Germany and anywhere else. And this is connected directly to a production. Let's say when a customer buys something, the system knows how to create all the data, G-code, everything, packaging, shipment management, invoicing, money transfer, everything else that is needed for the producer, for the local producer to produce this as fast as possible in the best quality, with very predefined processes and quality checks and so on. So the customer gets something that I call it from the machine to the customer. You know, it's something that we in this scenario, we are basically leaving the traditional woodworking. There is no handworking. There is no traditional way of how to make furniture. This, from my point of view, this is a new breed of furniture, and this kind of application that produces it from software, that basically a piece of software produces it, is something quite new in this scale, and we call it, I call it new age furniture from the future. And we plan to open production in almost every metro in the world. That means that we'll have about, we say 350 producers, but I think we can start with 100. Now, right now we have one in California, which is our base, and one in Chennai, in India, which we are starting a big project. So what you saw before that, this piece of furniture, this is how it looks in reality, or let's say as a computer generated image. And this is basically what consumers are buying today. They don't need the picture of the whole thing in a setting. Today, consumers are actually buying computer generated images. And this is one of these, this is the one you saw. So you can see the variables, you can see the applications, you can see a lot of what does it mean when you have a completely CNC produced image product. And I'll talk about it so much. But it was not the first one. I mean, I've been doing CNC production, I think, for more than 20 years. This is an earlier work, the Neubau shelf, and you can see also the simplicity in the design. And what I try to make is the design and the way of assembling is the same thing. There's no screws or glues or anything. It locks upon itself. And it creates whatever you would like. So in this scenario, this could be a shelving system or whatever you wanted, a sideboard and so on. Some other objects from before. Actually, the design shelf is the italic shelf is one of the first I did in 2008, and it's very quirky. And I mean, I try in my design, if I can talk to it as a designer, that my objects will have a sculptural presence, they will not be blending completely in the background, that they will not be functional to the point of boredom. I still want to say something, and I try to make it, I try to say it in a subtle way, I would say. So here's the things that I developed in the last year and few months, I think a year and something, which is expanding the collection and designs of Toolfab or New Age Furniture, which is basically the brand that Toolfab is projecting as its first endeavor, let's say, first business case. Everything you see here is zero complexity. It just kind of attaches on slides onto each other and creates this table or chair or computer holder and so on. Yeah, and this is the elevation range, a bed with some sideboards and whatever. Yeah, see that? I'll go fast. We wanted to make a platform, so with other designers. So I approached Laurence and Stephanie, who were two designer women from Normandy, who had this amazing collection of children's furniture made out of plywood. And I looked at some of these, and my heart was running faster, because there's something very emotional, very childlike projection in this, and it's very sculptural, I have to say. So we signed them on in a very simple royalty agreement, and they are part of our platform right now. And we're selling their products in the United States. Yeah. Some other things that you would see, this is the black table, low table, is a project we're doing with a company, a Berlin company called Made of Air, that they produce a zero negative material made out of charred wood and some resins. They call it, they want to reduce the CO2 emissions by making new materials. That's very interesting. Their materials looks like, it looks like a very nice plastic, but it's actually wood and some natural resin, and some, and below you'd see bottle holder and a side table for the bedroom with a very strong Rietveld influences. We are looking into what will happen if we go upholstered. How would it look like? What it would serve? Where is its place? This is still a work in progress. And I think the last slide is interesting in the context of cross-cultural design. My partners are American from an Indian origin. And since we're doing a new, starting a project with a very big Indian furniture company, they asked me to do a puja mandir, which is a Hindu temple at home or office, which signifies a space of worship. And me, I'm not a big fan of religion, but I said, okay, I'll do something. Hindu was always a strange religion to understand, being a Jew. So the left one is a more performative scenario. The thing is basically a stage, a theater stage, to act out what looked to me at the time as when you read the Mahabharata, it's like a big movie. So this is that, and the one on the right is something that I really like because it is more like a connecting the actual, the real, with the imaginary. This shape is a topographic representation of the top of Mount Kailash, which is a very important or significant mountain in the Hindu mythology. And upon that, Ganesh, the god. So there is something that comes, something mythology meets topography in a very strange way. And well, this is about, I think, this is what I was saying. I hope I'm on time and you enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Wow, so Ronen, just thanks for that. And as much as you miss us, we miss you. Obviously, you're always welcome to come back. So you can consider it. There's nothing wrong with that. So just thank you, Ronen, for that. And we'll be hearing now from 4 students. And Ronen, you are invited to stay with us so that they can do the Q&A afterwards.
Okay.
And the 4 students are Ezra Feldman, Hadar Laub, Shaina Orman, and Or Weinrowitz. So guys, you guys have got to work out the time together. We've got now 40 minutes for the 4 of you. So that's 10 minutes a pop. Let's keep on time because we have another guest from Canada. And if you make it a little bit less, fine, that'll give us some time for Q&A. So Ezra, the floor is yours. Shoot.
Thank you.
Ronen, can you just stop the sharing?
Yeah.
אתם רואים?
עוד לא. תכף רונן יפסיק.
Did I stop?
No, now you have, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I was, okay.
Okay.
אוקיי, רואים? מעולה.
You
אז
see.
הפרויקט גמר שלי התעסק בגיטרה חשמלית ואיך
I dealt with the electric guitar and how it can be transformed into something more ergonomic. So there's a high statistic of guitar players that have injuries, and usually they're injuries from overuse of the instrument or misuse of the instrument and no support. We can see the statistics in the areas that are injured in the body where they suffer. And the project was divided into 3 parts. First of all, the central part, which is the guitar with its adjustable guitar neck. then there's the ability to improve and self-learn, and finally create a community for sharing and support. Guitar, of course, guitar playing is done with two hands, the fretting hands, and of course the playing hands, and this creates different range of motion and misuse and pressures, particularly on the wrist, but also on the elbow and shoulder. On the left-hand side, we can see how they are holding the guitar at an angle, meaning bringing up the neck to their own head, and that reduces that stress. In order to create sound on a guitar, very clearly, you have to press pretty hard on the strings. And we can see here on the right the 24 guitarists that I interviewed, and results that I wanted me to show me visually where they feel discomfort and where they get injuries, and particularly where they get injuries after playing. So with everything that I had initially, I began thinking of of a design of the shape. These are the various models that I tried here on the left. And that brought up the idea of creating basically a platform. But the initial model was to try to position the neck along an axis that gives a lot more range of motion, and not be sort of set or limited to one tiny range of motion, to make it adjustable. And the moment that we made it adjustable, everything was possible. And with the understanding that change of motion and platform and posture, this meant that we could then bend the neck of the guitar to adjust it to the player, because it's a relatively primitive instrument, and you have to usually adjust yourself to it. So we have made a guitar that adjusts itself to the player. We have reversed that motion, and that means that we have, through pressure sensors, we can create digital so it's become a digital guitar, instead of actually producing pressure. Now, it was very important for me that the moment that guitar players take up this new instrument, they'll be able to immediately play it the way they're used to playing it, and naturally. And so what you see here, the guitar neck and strings, and you can see the bows of the actual body of the guitar. That creates the pressure and distancing to, and with a digital neck, that doesn't mean anything, because you don't have to pressure it. You can use whatever distances that are natural to you, but I still maintain the true and authentic original configuration of the neck. You can see that the frets and the strings were changed, and there was a lot of collaboration with the guitar players in order to really make it a tactile feeling that they were accustomed to. You can see the different kinds of sort of indentations. There were those that were elevated in order to see what kind of configurations were best. And of course, you can have here, this is the actual fret stand, which have different velocity measurements. And here, through these adjusters, they can feel the strength of the fingers being played on the guitar, and through that translated to more volume. And you can see here a cut of the various fretting board, which shows you the configurations of the various real strings, again trying to simulate as much as possible this feeling that they're used to. In addition, later on, there's an area in which the guitarist can sort of obscure the sound. In a regular guitar, after you thump on the guitar, you can then put your hand and stop the vibrations to stop the resonance. And that is the thing that we created. In the digital form, the file doesn't know how to stop itself automatically. So we created an area in which the guitar player can obscure or stop sound and vibrations digitally. These are kind of probable sketches. And this is the final design. And after a lot of consultations with guitar players, initially it was hard to understand this concept, because they've never had a bendable or adaptable neck to the guitar. But after I showed them models and allowed them to simulate them, they were less averse, and they found that actually it was very easy to use. And so I chose a final design which is a bit more conservative, in order to sort of make it a soft launch. And it's still bendable, but it's still their guitar that they know. And then the later designs, future designs, maybe can explore more sort of innovative shapes and configurations. So the body of the guitar is made basically of a soft pressure fiber which is specially designed by the company with the initial sound sensors by the company for this purpose. It basically allows the velocity sensitivity triggers to there are allow two effects, one on the side, which with a rotational shift, and another that allows you to shift volume for operations. The Maiden basically is wirelessly connected, but there's also an outer jack that allows you to put in your cable into the system. The neck is divided into basically segments with all of the sensors, and they are the ones that work together with two sort of engines. These mechanical elements are the ones that allow you to push up and down just like a regular string. What's interesting in these two engines is the moment that there's no electrical current, they cut off and it holds the neck in place. And thus we can see the velocity triggers that reduce the playability of the guitar strings, and the pressure sensors by which they can obscure sound.
לכאלה, ואז בסוף הנגינה הוא נותן אנליזות ויזואליות בדומה לאפליקציות כושר בריצה. האנליזות האלה הם בעצם...
These analyses actually expose to the musician some unhealthy habits that could develop over time. Here, for example, you can see that in a certain area in the song, the red lines show that the guitarist pressed too hard, harder than supposed to. So this insight can actually give the guitarist an opportunity to improve how they play. There's full control over the digital sound from the basic sound, if it's electric guitar, classic, acoustic, whatever they want, and you can add onto that all the pedals and effects that the guitarists know. So this is the model. It doesn't play. It's a model that demonstrates proportions and styling and color range. And that's it. Thank you for listening. I also have a video.
Okay, Ezra,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just the fact that you filmed at Mike's place, you get an extra couple of points. So our next graduate will be Hadar Loeb. Hadar, please, the floor is yours.
שלום לכולם.
Hi, everyone.
אז הפרויקט שלי התעסק...
So my project,
הפרויקט שלי התעסק בנשים שיוצאות לטייל...
My project was about women who like to hike alone in nature. I started my research and I saw that a lot of people, a lot of women like to travel outside. Solo female travel actually is a very well-known term today, and you can see the data, but since 2018, there's definitely been a sharp increase of women going to travel solo, or women who are looking up this term in Google. So it's a very interesting process that's happening, but you can see that in a survey conducted in 2020 by the Solo Female Travel Company, it indicates that even women, even though they do go out on their own on these excursions, they are still afraid. You can see that 64% of all women are afraid for their safety. 60% don't go for these walks on their own. And those who do walk alone, they say that only after 10 times they continue to fear, but they fear less. So from this research, I thought about the question, how come women are so afraid to go alone out to nature? What's the main barrier? So as a test case, I took the data in Israel, and you can see that in Israel there are a lot of sexual harassments. This is local data, but the figures in the world are also very high. So the main fear of women from the research I saw on internet and from my own research is that they'll somehow be sexually assaulted or harassed in nature. So the question is why there? Because most data indicates that these assaults or harassments happen in proximity that is familiar to us in urban environment, not necessarily in nature. And I'd like to talk about that. Women have fears that are related to the fact that they are women. It isn't necessarily have to be in correlation with the actual reality. So this fear is subjective. It's not objective. Even if in nature there are much less cases of sexual harassment, a woman will always be afraid to be alone in this space because she's a woman, not necessarily because the data indicates that the chances that you'll be assaulted are high. So this is a very significant point, and this is what led me to my project. So from the questionnaire I circulated, I saw that women do want to go out to nature alone. It's not that they don't want to, but fear is a very significant element that makes them, forgo this desire, and it frustrates them. This came up in my questionnaires and my interviews. It creates frustration, lack of independence, a sense of dependency, and the questionnaire that I gave, you can see that it's not necessarily, based on reality. And we can understand that just as we as individuals fear all kind of things, women as a gender, the fear is actually very personal, very subjective, very gender-based in comparison to the risk, which doesn't necessarily exist in nature. So here I had asked to intervene. What I suggested was a kit for a traveling woman that addresses the 3 stages that a woman prepares to go out to nature and encounters various barriers or fears. And the first stage is planning. I mean, when the idea just comes up, and then there is the preparation stage. What do I do? Where do I go? So there's this tension between the desire and the fear, and then actually going out. Then there's also a great fear, but okay, I'm here on location. How do I deal with these things? And it's important to say that the existential fear did come up in the research, which is at the highest level, and that was the most significant point that I wanted to ease, to alleviate, but other issues such as how to behave, what to do in nature, in the field, that also came up. So that's part of the kit that I'm suggesting, which includes a clothing artifact and an app. I'll go over it quickly. The app, in order to give a sense of safety, is characterized from a place of nature. The color scheme is feminine, calm, but it does correspond with nature, and all of the features, and I'll go over them very briefly, just the main elements. They are all there to convey a sense of safety, of security, that the woman is alone, she's independent, she can go out to the field, but she does have some kind of backing, some support. There are people with her, so it creates a community, and it also includes features of safety. A bit about the app: you log in to the app from home. The user, once she purchases that clothing artifact, she enters the user community of Soul. That's the company. So in the safe space of home, she starts planning her route. It gives her a sense of confidence and control. I'm preparing to be in that area that's unfamiliar to me from a familiar place. And then there's the creation of a very clear and convenient visual map that's easy to use. And many women indicate that once they open the navigation app, they can get lost. They're not even out there, and they already feel a lack of knowledge. And so one of the things was to create a map that's convenient and easy to use. And we're talking about layers of usage. Here, you can see that there's this community where I can add and see things that other women have added to the track. There are specific points of interest of the app, some smart markings where they are in relation to me, usage of services, and in the navigation itself where I'm on on the map, on the track. Indeed, if we're talking about the collaborative community, studies indicate that on the one hand, I'm alone, but I'm also part of a community that gives a lot of power, a lot of confidence, and it encourages me to become part of this. So it creates significant points of interest, and I can also add, and it also provides means of help. If somebody is near me, I can either call for help, or when I'm at the end, somebody can help me and give me a ride, a certain collaborative community apparatus in order to establish a sense of confidence and this safety net that is more about this issue of being alone and these fears I mentioned at the beginning. So it's a kind of a safety net that if something happens, the app either automatically or in an analog way detects if you've fallen or if something unusual happened. It asks the woman if everything is okay. And if it sees that there's a problem, it alerts the relevant emergency hotlines. And another thing that it issues the app is a definition of contacts. Before I go out, they ask me if I want to define such a group so they can see where I am at, or if something happens to me to receive this alert. It's an attempt to create this kind of this space, safety space in a space that's on the one hand alone, but so you don't need to feel dependent. And then the second stage is that clothing artifact, this Shiki, and it addresses needs of how to be in nature. It comes up from the research. You can see different usages. Let me go over every usage that came up. There's this as a shawl if it's a dynamic trip, if you need adaptations to weather, if I need to enter a church or someplace religious and need to cover myself, need to a change of clothes. So this is something that can help me do so more privately. Headgear, or to provide shade, and a kind of a tote bag. This issue also came up. Also, for safety issues, if I fall, there is a feature within the object that you can pull an elastic band, some kind of a first aid, and it could serve as a rope for hanging or securing things. And all these things came up from our research. That's it. Thank you. I would like to say that indeed it's a certain kit that addresses the actual, the tangible fear from sexual assault, which I mentioned at the beginning, and it also helps you travel more comfortably. Thank you very much. Thank you, Hadar. And now we'll hear from Shayna. Shayna, please.
As was said before, my name is Sheena Orman. This is my project, The Boost. And it's essentially a support and empowerment platform for women participating in the labor force. In a professional website. What?
Shayna?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Do you guys hear me? I'm very sorry. There was an issue with my Zoom. Are you guys there?
Yes, everyone's here. We're waiting for you.
Okay. So it's an informational, communal, and professional website that provides tools and accompanies women throughout the process of participating in the workforce. So essentially, why do we care? Well, there's actually a lot of women out there. We actually make up 47.7% of the global workforce, but we're not very valued. women are earning 85% of what men are making in the same job. Female employees on average are 14% less likely to be promoted. And at the current rates, it's going to take 70 years to close this gap. But we're also undervaluing ourselves. We're seeing that men are asking for salary negotiations 4 times as often as women. And when women do negotiate, they're asking 30% less. And we're also seeing this with job or promotions for applying application process. Men, when they feel they meet 60% of the qualifications, are sending. Women are only applying if they meet 100%. So our users are career motivated women who are working age around 18 to 64. There's an emphasis on women entering the workforce for the first time because they are the most vulnerable. And here we could see some of the things that bother the users. Here we have Rachel. She's saying she finds her emotions are seen as a weakness and she gets treated differently if she shows any. And we have Meira. She says she found the job application incredibly difficult. And if she didn't have any support or guidance, she doesn't know if she would have gotten the job. And her support and guidance was just her mother and her husband. It wasn't anything more than that. And these are some things that came up throughout the process of the interviews. Women feel very connected to each other. They feel a bond and they feel a community with each other. They also feel a lack of guidance towards the workforce. And it's very scary and anxious ridden. Throughout a survey done with 186 women, I found that these are the 3 main things that are the scariest part of the job application process. Writing a resume.
שינה,
Yes.
התמונות לא מתחלפות, השקופיות.
Shayna, we can't see your slides changing. It's constantly on the same slide.
Okay. Can I do reshare?
But China, pick up from where you left off, so because we don't
Not a
have time
problem.
to.
Yeah. Sorry, before there was a message from Zoom, and I guess that's what it was saying to me. Do you all see? It's graphs.
כן.
Okay.
Yes, we can see graphs.
So these are the 3 things that were found to be the most difficult: writing a resume, interview prep, and salary negotiations. And out of 186 women, 73 felt they would earn less as a woman, and 59 felt their emotional side was seen as a weakness. And 60 felt less confident as a woman entering the workforce. So we're seeing that gender does take place here. And from the consultants, what they said was, we had Jenny, career therapist. She said we need to focus on what we can control, which would be interviews, how we show up. We have Michal. She said women are faster withdrawal for salary negotiations. So there needs to be more exposure on the subject. And we have Joan. And she's saying we're better as a group. We're together, we're stronger, and we thrive better. So as I before, there's a lack of guidance for job application process. Women are feeling undervalued. And there's a feeling of being alone and lost in the process of applications. So this is the boost. It's a community of career women navigating the working world together. Some of my design inspirations in language that followed me throughout this process was feministic colors, which were green, purple, and white, which were taken from the suffragette flag that was started in England. We have contrasting retro images meant to speak about activism, loud and confident. And the whole thing is just supposed to be a little in your face. So some things that you can get from this platform is community, the tribe, where you can express yourself freely and receive and give support. You can get help on your resume, understand how to write it, but you could also swap and scan it and see if it's a part to send. And you can also practice interviews with other women or with a simulated image. And with salary, know your worth, learn about it. So here we have the salary page where you can unearth your worth or salary gallery. And here you can get a salary report on how much you are making, which is a mix of the AI technology, and also it sends to other women in similar positions to get a full image. And you could also change the weight of each of these things. You're also able to compare your salary almost as if to see how much you would make as a man, but it's not, the whole point of this isn't really to compare. It's more about transparency and just to show the woman maybe she should be asking for more. And let's talk about it. Here we have our salary gallery, almost an art gallery of different women who are writing and saying how much they are making in order to create and further the discussion of salaries. So interviews, it's practice. Practice makes confidence, and that's what I found in my research, where I had different women practice their interviews before going into an internship product. This mock interviews, which you could either do with another woman, or you could do with a simulated image, where you pick your interview type, you log in your personal information, you choose your questions, check availability, and confirm match. Now I want to talk about the boost function. It's pretty much a quick action where you're able to send and ask for support from the community on the website, because we're allowing emotional allowance, something that's not allowed in the workplace. And here we have the community, a place where you can discuss many topics with other women in similar situations according to subject or topic, where you could also give boosts and help support other women. Thank you for listening, and thank you for this experience.